What is up, Patriots? I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend, and this show should be good, since I'm sipping on some high-caffeine black coffee as I record this. This is O'Connor's Quick Strike, and I'm John O'Connor. 3 stories the mainstream media won't cover, or will completely twist beyond recognition, delivered in roughly 15 minutes or so. No fluff, no BS, no filler, just the unvarnished truth peppered with my own take on what's really going on. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As always, if you haven't already, go ahead and just politely tap that like, subscribe, and or follow button. Every single one of your polite taps help get our message out there. Today is Monday, November 3rd, and I've got 3 pretty interesting stories. We're talking about Democrats' own research admitting their voters think they are weak and out of touch. A far-left group literally planning to siege the White House on Wednesday. Yeah, I bet that works. And Trump saying he might send troops to Nigeria to protect persecuted Christians. Let's get into it.
3.
Patriots, you know how we've been saying for years that Democrats are completely disconnected from regular Americans? That they care more about pronouns than paychecks? Well, guess what just dropped this past Saturday? The Democrats' own internal research. And it's pretty brutal. American Bridge 21st Century, that's a major Democrat super PAC, just released results of a 9-month study across 21 states. And the answer: working class voters think Democrats are, and I quote, woke, weak, and out of touch. Now, this isn't Fox News saying it. This is the Democrats admitting what their own voters told them. 6 in 10 working class voters have a negative view of the Democratic Party. When asked what Democrats stand for, they literally cannot name anything other than being against Donald Trump. The report says working class voters don't see Democrats as strong or patriotic. Meanwhile, they say they see Republicans as representing safety and strength. A second poll from a center-left group called Welcome shows 70% think the Democratic Party is out of touch, and 60% say Democrats don't have the right priorities. So, what are Democrats prioritizing? According to these voters, Democrats are too focused on protecting undocumented immigrants and LGBTQ+ Americans, climate change, abortion, and identity politics. What are they not focused on? The economy, cost of living, healthcare, border security, the things that actually affect people's daily lives. The report specifically calls out transgender rights and immigrations as areas where Democrats are getting destroyed. Remember Trump's ad, "Kamala is for they, them, President Trump is for you"? Well, that ad demolished them. And here's something fascinating. None of the working class voters interviewed even used the word oligarchy. AOC and Bernie spent this spring doing their Fighting Oligarchy tour. Working class voters don't even use that language. Democrats are literally speaking a different language than the people they're trying to reach. But here's my question. Are Democrats actually going to do anything about this? Since losing in November, what have they been focused on? An oligarchy tour that nobody cares about? Freaking out over ICE enforcing immigration law? Endorsing a Democratic socialist for New York City mayor? Shutting down the government while taking their own paychecks? They're doing exactly the opposite of what their own research is showing them. You want to know why Trump won? It's right here in black and white. Trump talked about the economy, jobs, safety. He validated working class voters' concerns. He didn't lecture them about pronouns. The Democratic Party has been captured by college-educated upper-middle-class people living in cities who care deeply about social issues because they don't have to worry about paying the bills. They have no idea how to talk to a truck driver in Pennsylvania or a factory worker in Wisconsin. Democrats used to be the party of working people, but that party is dead. It's been replaced by a party that cares more about being right on social issues than actually winning elections. And you know what? I don't feel sorry for them. While they were virtue signaling about pronouns, they abandoned the very people they claimed to represent. Working class Americans didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left them. Trump saw that opening and drove a truck right through it. And unless Democrats actually listen to their own research, which I doubt, they're going to keep losing. And good.
2.
All right. Speaking of desperate Democrats, let's talk about what happens when the left realizes they are losing. There's a far-left group called Refuse Fascism that is planning what they're calling an insurrection this Wednesday, November 5th, right in Washington, D.C. I'm not exaggerating. They're using the word insurrection. Their plan: surround the White House, surround the Capitol, surround the Supreme Court, and refuse to leave until Trump is removed from office. Here's what's on their website. Come back again and again, across the country, refuse to comply. Every person of conscience, millions of us together, grind the machinery of the fascist regime to a halt. Don't stop until Trump is removed. Remember when Democrats spent years screaming that January 6th was an insurrection? Well, here we have a left-wing group literally calling for an insurrection, literally planning to siege government buildings until a democratically elected president is removed. And where is the FBI? Where are the pre-dawn raids? Where's CNN? Crickets. This is the same playbook we saw with the No Kings protests a couple weeks ago. They hyped it up for weeks. It fizzled. Americans aren't buying it. Look, I'm all for the First Amendment, but let's be clear. This isn't peaceful protest. This is a stated plan to occupy federal buildings and shut down the government until they get what they want. That's not democracy. That's an attempted coup. The hypocrisy is staggering. These are the same people who claimed January 6th was worse than 9/11. But when they plan to literally siege the federal government, that's just activism. You know what the real difference is? On January 6th, Trump told people to protest peacefully and patriotically. These people are openly calling for the overthrow of a sitting president. Now, I don't think this is going to work. I think Wednesday is going to come and go, and a handful of protesters are going to show up, yell for a few hours, and then go home. Maybe a few people get arrested. The American people have moved on. They voted. Trump won. But the fact that this is even being planned tells you everything about where the left is right now. They are desperate, they are angry, and they are completely divorced from reality. 75 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. Not because they're fascists. They did it because they looked at 4 years under Kamala, or say Biden, and said, we can't afford 4 more years of this. And no amount of surrounding buildings is going to change that. The left is going to have to come to terms with the fact that they lost. Not because of Russian collusion, not because of voter suppression. They lost because their policies failed, and they completely abandoned working class voters. So go ahead, refuse fascism. Surround the White House on Wednesday. See how many people show up. Because I guarantee you, the millions of Americans working 2 jobs to pay their bills aren't going to be there. They are going to be at work, wondering why Democrats care more about resisting than actually governing.
1.
All right, let's end on strength versus weakness. While Democrats wring their hands and the far left plans sieges, President Trump is doing something no other president has had the guts to do, standing up for persecuted Christians worldwide. And this story just keeps developing. Let me walk you through the last 3 days. Friday, Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations, a State Department designation for countries engaging in severe violations. Trump said, Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Saturday, Trump escalated. He posted, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the U.S. will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria, and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. Then, last night on Air Force One flying back from Mar-a-Lago, reporters asked Trump directly, are you talking about boots on the ground? Airstrikes? Trump said, could be. I mean other things. I envision a lot of things. They are killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. They are killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We are not going to allow that to happen. The President of the United States last night said there could be U.S. troops on the ground in Nigeria. He didn't rule out airstrikes. He didn't rule out ground troops. This seems to be escalating fast, and it shows exactly the kind of president Trump is. For years, Christians in Nigeria have been slaughtered, entire villages burned, churches attacked during Sunday services, thousands killed by Islamist extremist groups like Boko Haram. Biden did nothing. Obama did nothing. Bush did nothing. Trump said, enough is enough. The Nigerian government pushed back Saturday. President Bola said Nigeria is addressing security challenges affecting citizens across faiths and regions. Look, Nigeria faces complex issues. The country's 230 million people are split evenly between Muslims and Christians. There are conflicts between Muslim herders and Christian farmers. Boko Haram has killed both groups. But Christians are being specifically targeted. Villages are being burned. Christian churches are being attacked. The Nigerian government hasn't done enough. Ted Cruz has been pushed for years to get Nigeria designated as a religious freedom violator. And now, with Trump in office, something is actually being done. And Nicki Minaj noticed. Yes, that rap superstar Nicki Minaj posted thanking Trump for standing up for Nigerian Christians. When Nicki Minaj praises Trump for defending Christians, something significant has to be happening. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth responded to Trump's Saturday post. Yes, sir. The killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria and anywhere must end immediately. The Department of War is preparing for action. Either the Nigerian government protects Christians or we will kill the Islamic terrorists. The Department of War is preparing for action. That's not talk. That's preparation. Will Trump actually send troops? After last night's Air Force One comments, it's looking more likely. At minimum, airstrikes are on the table. Compare that to Biden. When was the last time you heard Biden talk about persecuted Christians? Democrats won't, because standing up for Christians isn't politically correct. Trump doesn't care about being politically correct. He cares about results, and he's willing to use every tool at America's disposal, including military force, to protect the innocent. The left will scream that Trump's being reckless, that he's acting like a cowboy. Good. Maybe the world needs a cowboy right now. Maybe the world needs an American president willing to say that murdering Christians is unacceptable and there will be consequences. For too long, we've been weak. We've apologized for our power. We've let enemies walk all over us. Trump is changing that. He's reminding the world that America's still the most powerful nation on earth, and we're going to use that power to defend freedom. Look at the progression. Friday, he designated them. Saturday, he threatened action. Sunday night, he confirmed boots on the ground are possible. This is how Trump operates. He escalates, he applies pressure, and he follows through. That's the difference between Trump and Democrats. Democrats talk about values. Trump acts on them. Democrats worry about what the international community thinks. Trump worries about what's right. And right now, what's right is standing up for Christians being murdered for their faith. Thank you, President Trump, for reminding the world that America doesn't back down. And after last night on Air Force One, the world knows you mean business. All right, Patriots. Well, that's a wrap for today's Quick Strike. 3 stories that tell you everything you need to know about where we are as a country. Democrats admitting that they've lost the working class. The far left planning to siege the White House because they can't seem to accept reality. And Trump showing actual leadership by standing up for persecuted Christians. The contrast couldn't be clearer. On one side, you have weakness, desperation, and denial. On the other, you have strength, action, and results. I know which side I'm on. If you found this episode helpful, go ahead and politely tap that like button, share it with a friend, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss Wednesday's episode. And remember, we do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. No fluff, no BS, just the truth. Until next time, Patriots, stay informed, stay strong, and keep fighting the good fight. I'm John O'Connor, and I'll see you on Wednesday.